Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 4 of the Rewatch Podcast presented by the Terrible Video Gamers Club. I'm your host, Tyler Schatz. Little did he know he'd still be awake at this point in time of the day. Joining me for the fine recording session is one Stephen Howard.
Who has always known that the pen is mightier than the sword.
Amanda Howard.
Who also listens to endless deep ocean waves.
Do you cause it with a bunch of file folders?
She sits there all day, just shh.
Every time I pick up a piece of paper, it's another wave in the ocean.
Oh, one Josh Cox.
I'm here as well. Didn't have an intro.
Nick Castillo.
Get bent, tax man.
Tax man!
Tax man!
And last, but certainly never ever least, one Gary Delaney.
I'm so happy that JC picked this movie, as his last pick was a TV show about depressed teenagers in provocative situations, considering existential situations, while occasionally fighting in giant robots with some fan service. To contrast, this movie just has an unreliable narrator.
Actually, she's pretty damn reliable. I think that's kind of the
You're
point where you're not watching.
Reliable. Like, that is the point of the movie.
Everything she says comes true. What movie did you watch?
Until the end.
I will disagree with that at a later point. There is an unreliable narrator at parts of this movie.
I'm interested to hear what you're talking about.
I am very excited for that, actually.
Well, there's daydreams. I guess you could say there's daydreams. There's several daydream sequences about his
She hasn't
death.
written them yet.
No, those aren't.
Yeah.
That's not about him.
But they're misleads. They're daydream misleads.
But it has to do with her. It doesn't have to do with him.
So
Those are usually also cleared up in about 30 seconds, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
yeah. Before we go too deep into what we're here, we're discussing the 2006 film Stranger Than Fiction, starring one Will Ferrell. Who else was in it? Maggie
Gyllenhaal,
Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Damon
Queen
Thompson,
Latifah.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman.
Star-studded cast. The Sonic
Very
guys.
good cast. Very good cast.
The Sonic guys.
Yeah, the two guys from the Sonic ads. They're the IRS
Wait,
coworkers.
Yeah,
What?
he's not wrong. I don't know their names, but yeah, they're the two IRS guys.
TJ and Peter Gross. TJ Jagodowski.
I've never heard of this.
Peter Gross. You didn't
I don't
know
know.
Sonic
I
didn't
guys?
know that it
It's
had a
just two guys sitting
cameo
in
of
a Sonic.
of commercial.
That's
Two guys sitting in a car in the Sonic.
Sonic is a well-known burger chain.
Oh,
Every
no,
time I hear
sorry,
Sonic,
not
my mind
the
instantly goes
Hedgehog.
to The Hedgehog.
Gamers.
Yeah, me too.
What?
The Sonic drive-through.
Uncultured swine is what they are, JC. Uncultured swine.
Uncultured.
There's
To be
two
fair-
people that I knew in this, and that was Will Ferrell and the lady from The Dark Knight. And that's how I knew these.
You didn't know who Dustin Hoffman was?
From the dark.
No, I still don't
Queen
know who Dustin
Latifah?
Hoffman is.
Queen
Who was he?
Latifah?
Dustin,
After you told me Queen Latifah, I realized that. But
Queen
I didn't
Latifah.
remember.
Dustin
Didn't
Hoffman.
you have a movie
plays
that
Captain
had
Hook.
Emma Thompson recommended? Or was that Gary? Somebody had a
Primary
movie that
Colors.
was recommended.
Primary Colors has Emma
Thompson?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's because that's the narrator. Anyway, here we are.
We've always established how good Steven is at actors and actresses, I guess,
I
but
have to keep reminding
he still
myself
surprises
that.
me sometimes.
To Steven's credit, Emma Thompson is not in any historical Civil War reenactment movies.
That we
And
haven't proven yet.
Dustin Hoffman only has 2 Oscars for movies that I'm sure Steven has never seen, which were, I think, The Rain Man.
Graduate?
The Rain Man and Kramer versus Kramer. He didn't win for The Graduate.
Graduate's a
Steven,
great movie.
Question for you, Steven. Do you actually know any actors' names from your documentaries, or only actors' names that you actually know have to be from like superhero movies?
Morgan Freeman narrates in the Ken Burns Civil War movie.
True.
Well, you got one narrator, just not the one from this one. Got it.
I look forward to watching Primary Colors and saying I don't know who this Emma person is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, God. Yes.
Okay. So to turn it over
He'll be
to
that guy
just
who played in Batman. Sorry.
A guy who
one
played it
dude
Batman.
from that one thing. Dustin Hoffman's in Sphere too. I'm looking at his credits here, just going through all these
I know,
movies and
it's-
stuff.
What's
Yeah.
Sphere?
You've never
That one
seen
I don't know.
Sphere?
Oh, Sphere. Oh,
Sphere.
I've read the book Sphere. I haven't actually. I don't think I've seen the movie Sphere. I've read the book.
Hook.
Hmm.
Fun fact: that book was actually given to me by my high school crush, so I read it within a week and a half, so I could discuss it with her, and she had never read it. So
Fascinating.
yeah, thought you'd want to know.
What a terrible gift. Like if someone ever gifted me a book, I hope it's at like a third grade level. Like that's all you're gonna get me to read.
I'll give you a color by numbers book there, Gary.
Maybe a children's book because I have a kid now and I have to learn how to read again. But
Not for a couple of years. It's all pictures right now.
Yeah, you can just make up whatever story you want there, Gary,
Yeah.
and they won't know the difference.
Just pick your art style and go find the books that match it.
okay.
So before we continue to veer completely off the rails here with this conversation,
We don't do that.
I'm going to turn it over to JC for a little bit there to kind of talk a little bit more about this movie, as this was his choice for our season.
Yeah, so a quick overview of the movie, with all thanks to Claudio Carvalho from IMDb. For 12 years, methodical IRS agent Harold Crick, Will Ferrell, has had a routine lonely life guided by his wristwatch. One day, he hears the narration of his life, telling him that he is going to die pretty soon. Meanwhile, his audit of Anna Pascal, played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, is of a bakery that is in debt with the IRS. He soon falls in love with her. Harold is advised by Professor Jules Hilbert, played by Dustin Hoffman, to change his monotonous lifestyle, and he tries to find the narrator. Ends up finding Karen Eiffel, played by Emma Thompson, who is the author of the story of his life. And her thing is that she always kills the character in her story. So now it's a mortality versus morality thing, and he's trying to convince her to change the end of the story and not kill him. Spoiler alert: he lives.
What?
But, yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I'll say that right off the
No
bat.
movie has the balls to just kill Will Ferrell. Like that would be, I think that would have been more ballsy. Just kill Will Ferrell off.
I mean,
But
But Will Ferrell wanted to die, so
yeah, at the end, like we'll get to
Not
that.
at
That's
first.
a huge. Well, but that's a
No,
big
no.
discussion at the end. Like all the they
Mhm.
have the discussion between Will Ferrell and between.
we better not get
the
there
author.
yet. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway,
I
my
want to
initial-
put a vote out there though. I want to put a vote out there for those book lovers that we have here. Who would have thought it was acceptable that a person needs to sacrifice himself for the sake of great literature?
We'll get to that, Amanda. We will get to that.
Yeah,
I
but
might
that
be
is-
the only one who agreed. I don't know. I don't even like books.
I don't. It's a heavy discussion. Yes, it is my last question that I have and everything. Basically, is
Sorry.
that that's all right. Yeah. Overall, hand halfway. Yeah. If you're
I
getting a
really
quick
enjoyed
read
the
of the
movie,
room.
and I really enjoyed the movie, and thank you for recommending this one because I had actually seen this movie before, but I didn't super remember everything about it. I knew the semi-conclusion of it, but I didn't remember very much about it, and I really did enjoy it. And I really enjoyed watching it again. I had some issues with several items, but they were like points in the character, which I think they're supposed to make you kind of dislike them. Like, which you think I want to pay my taxes for national defense? I'm like, oh God, it's this sort of person. But I mean, that's what she is in the movie, so that makes sense.
And
I
Still
don't know.
2006. I mean, we're thick in the Iraq side of things at that point, so it's very much the public sentiment was of that ilk. So it was a somewhat common refrain at that time. I'm sure that you had a lot of those people with the IRS in that era.
No audio.
Not hearing Nick.
Too bad. We'll come back to Nick.
She
He was
sent
the
a
most
letter
voice isolation.
detailing. She sent a letter detailing her objection.
Yeah,
Is that
I
the
know
letter
she
that
did.
began, "You imperialist
Yeah.
swine"?
Dear imperialist swine.
I mean, we
But,
can't
I mean,
forget
the-
though. She told the tax man to get bent. I mean, we can't leave that part out here too.
She did.
Really character
That was
building
a-
moment there.
For my own rewatch here, it was very much a thing of I enjoy movies that don't leave a lot on the cutting room floor, and even for an hour and 52 minutes, this movie has a lot of little scenes that just keep self-referring over and over again, to where it's like the small little moments that at the beginning might just be small little character moments, but Queen Latifah's just really beefing up her resume, essentially trying to hype herself up. But it's this little Easter egg that she drops to say, hey, I've never gone back to the publisher to ask for more time. And at the end, she goes back to the publisher and asks for more time for Karen. Like these little things that just always end up leading to a callback that feels like there's not a lot of wasted cutting room floor there.
Gary
I did not like that. I felt like that was, I never go back. And then it's like, I went back and asked for more time. Like it's supposed to be something big. Like in the early conversation, I was like, she's full of shit. She's totally gone back and asked for more time. And then she's like, she asked for more and I don't think the author believed her either. So that's why I didn't like that callback. Is like, I know she's full of shit. The author knows she's full of shit. And then they call it back like it's some great big deal. Who cares? Anyway, Steven.
I vehemently disagree with that. First of all, I think Queen Latifah does do a good job of saying, when she walks in, selling herself to the extent that, yeah, hey, she has never gone back on her word. She has always gotten it done. And she seems like the type of professional ultra business person who would never go back on their word. They would forsake a person. They would forsake the author for the sake of the corporation. And that's one of the big concluding things. It's not just about Will Ferrell exceeding his expectations of life. Every single one of the characters does something in the very end of the movie which exceeds what they were before, except for Maggie Gyllenhaal. But she's not really she's almost a plot device in the movie. I wouldn't say she's necessarily a developing character. Well, she still plays a very good character. Don't get me wrong. For what they give her, she plays a great character and she's believable. It's just she is not one of the people in this movie who is expected to grow or exceed. And it's kind of sad that the writers didn't give her that option. But getting back to what I was saying, yes, Queen Latifah in the end does exceed what she came there to say, and I like those drawbacks, and I like those everyone kind of proceeds and becomes better in the end. Tyler.
This is more of just a personal thing for me about my movie watching kind of in general too. When you guys are talking about that, the callbacks and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I kind of noticed that stuff, and maybe it's just the cynicism in me of watching so many movies that just use this as a plot point of like, I'm going to talk about this thing here and kind of make it a point of my character at the beginning of the movie. And then you instantly go in your mind, oh, I bet this is coming up at the end of the movie here. And they're either going to do a 180 on it or something. So I don't know. I guess from my perspective, I wasn't focusing too much on that. It was just more of like the growth of the characters throughout the movie, not specifically. Everyone's shaking their head here.
We can't hear Nick.
Don't worry about it. It was Gary. I'm shaking my head at Gary.
Okay. And maybe, like I said, not so much the growth of the characters. It was the growth of the characters throughout the movie that I was watching. But like when you mentioned those callbacks, it's like, oh yeah, they were in there. I didn't pay attention to them all that much because again, and like I said, it's probably a cynicism thing with me about movie watching of like, oh, I'm going to mention this big important part about my character that defines me. And then boom, it changes at the end. Go ahead, Gary.
I didn't think it was that important, and I thought the timeline seemed very arbitrary. I understand the publishers have timelines. However, Dustin Hoffman drops a nugget of information that she hasn't written a book in 10 years. So the fact that she has this like arbitrary timeline seemed like a definite plot device to try to like give some finality, and the same with Queen Latifah, like just to give some arbitrary timeline of like when a decision has to be made by. And I
agree.
It wasn't necessary. Oh, I heard Nick. But we're going to go to Amanda instead.
I also, before when I'd seen this movie, I've seen it a couple times. I didn't catch that 10-year thing. And I was sitting there, I was like, so she didn't write a book in 10 years. Is this like a George R. Martin deal where she spent the whole 10 years writing this book? Or did she just pick it up? And then why the rush now? I have very little idea how the publishing world works, other than quips from a couple
I
random
didn't-
authors that I like.
I
But
didn't know if in the TV universe she says something about a tax ban. Like maybe she had been writing this book for 10
yeah,
years.
she said
But
something about taxes, but like, I don't know, like for 10 years, again, for a 10-year book. Now this movie came out in the 90s, 2006.
2006.
Okay. And now that we've had Game of Thrones and stuff, I'm like, I'm sorry, if you spend 10 years on it, I expect a Game of Thrones thick of a book. This doesn't look like it's quite going to be there. But I do love Stephen's analysis of everybody like becoming more than themselves or doing that thing and growing. But and you're right, we don't see what's the character's name? Anna. We don't see her doing anything, but I like to think that she either paid her taxes or actually did finish filling out the paperwork to declare her gifts, which was something she was
That's the growth
definitely
that she
not going to
does
do.
for taxes,
See,
right?
we just don't see it. It's
Uh-huh.
implied by love.
I did for a second think that the stories were disconnected, and the 10-year gap I attributed to maybe like he is dead, and this is something that we're hearing the story in the past until they came back together at the end there, and you could actually see like, oh, he's meeting her. Okay, never mind. And so it became very meta. Trying to understand the gap was also something that I thought was really interesting. It didn't really fit in a box. I was trying to enjoy just the movie itself, but I think like having so many movies, especially now, whatever it is, 20 years later, that are very Inception, Tenant, kind of like what is the actual timeline of this story. I feel like I was primed to try and there's layers here. There's alternate meaning, and I was trying to dissect it instead of just watching it, even though that's what I was trying to do. And so I had a bunch of different boxes I was trying to place it in. I'll go into it later, but I actually landed on a very theological landing. I had a lot of undertones in this movie for theology that just seemed to kind of fit, at least to give it a framework, is what I was going for. Stephen?
I just wanted to point out that at the end of this movie, towards the end of this movie, this is called the best book she has ever written, a culture-defining moment. So yes, I could see her taking 10 years on writing it. I mean, how long did it take? This is a bit of a, I don't know. How long did it take? I don't even know. Whatever author I was going to say, the author of, I'm not even remember what their name is now. Continue on. But anyways, the point being that it is a defining effort that she does. So yeah, it makes sense that this would take 10 years, that she get writer's block on it, or that she stumbled on it for a long time. Not everyone is Stephen King. Not everyone is going to pump out a novel a year. Gary.
JC previously said like that nothing was left on the cutting room floor. I felt like there's probably a story where Anna like not only does her taxes, but it finds out that like through creative tax math, like actually she owes nothing to the IRS. Like she donated all this to people, and like Will Ferrell's gonna save her with tax math. Like I assumed that's where it was going, was that Will Ferrell was gonna save her with tax math. But whatever.
Well, I think that is what it ends up being, is that he tells her like, hey, you can deduct these things. Like he's basically telling her how to file the amended return to offset the tax penalties. So that is the return. Yeah, I can't remember the other point I had. Stephen?
I was going to say that is kind of one of the issues that I have with Anna as a character in this movie, getting back to maybe more of the substance of the movie itself, is that Anna as a character is presented as almost, in this era, the perfect person. She is helping out all the homeless. She is not funding imperialism wars. She is smart and clever. She dropped out of Harvard Law, I think it was, because she just wanted to bake and she wanted to help out everyone in her groups. And there's no room for growth. She doesn't have any room for growth, so they don't make her grow. And that is one of the issues that I have with her, is she doesn't seem to grow. And she, like I said earlier, she becomes a plot device in that regard. She becomes more of a stationary object than one of these moving people, which, let's be honest, even Will Ferrell's, I don't remember what his best friend's name is, but even he gets to go to space camp. Everyone gets something, but she doesn't. Nick.
Again, I'm not preaching theology, but I had a lot of that tone with the character of Anna as she's the innocent in the story. She's just kind of the figure piece that everything else does sort of revolve around. So I did kind of see her as a plot device. Wasn't very deep, but the crux of what everybody else was kind of trying to figure out, because Steve Carell's character doesn't really Steve Carell. Wow.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
Thank you. Will Ferrell doesn't figure anything out until he goes back and gets with her. It kind of brings her the flowers. The theology that I kept kind of coming back to is Dustin Hoffman is like this God character who's aloof, trying to help press this is the story that I'm familiar with. And Will Ferrell's character is like this hero complex savior in the middle, where he has to die, right? And he's contemplating his own morality and mortality in it. He doesn't really want to, but until we got to the ending, I kind of figured he was going to die in some sort of way, or some sort of sacrifice. I agree. I'm probably overthinking this, but this is where my brain kept going, is that he has to die in order to save, again, the main plot device, the innocent in the middle, which again is this weird box that it seemed to want to put itself in as I was watching it. And I kept trying to keep a blank slate, but that's where I thought it was going to the very end. So I would be in the camp that Anna was a plot device. Amanda.
Plot device, I could probably agree with. I think Steven's assessment was a little far for me. Like, I don't think she's portrayed as perfect. I think quite the opposite. Even you said, like, she dropped out of this. She's not, in terms of that age, I feel like the perfect women were usually always shown as, like, nice and, like, wonderful, don't realize that they're that wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I do feel like they took a different direction with that. I don't think they went incredibly deep on it. I think they stopped at enough to make her an interesting love interest, and then they stopped there. I think the other characters get a lot more in them than so I'm willing to call it plot device, but I don't think I intentionally think they didn't portray her as perfect because she starts off yelling at them. Also, fun fact, did not realize until the rewatching of this, when I've watched this before, I thought he brought her like flowers, like the plant, and they were just like flowers in the bags or something, like flower seeds. I did not get that they were
incredibly clever, and I considered, like, can I get away with this now? Is this something I can do?
That was really good.
I was like, God, it's a lot of flowers. Like, I remember thinking before, I was like, where's she gonna plant all those? Like, I thought
For
they
her
were like flower seeds.
That's like the perfect little, like, nuanced inside joke to bring her.
Mm-hmm.
Did not catch that at all.
That's really good.
Go ahead.
Also, it's got to be really effing heavy. Like, I saw that and I was like, that's got to be really effing heavy.
I mean, the little box
that's
is like
a good point.
sagging even. He's falling it.
I'm going to disagree with Steven that Maggie Gyllenhaal's character Anna has no growth. And it's, I think, the fact that she's like an ogre. She's got layers. Like, when you first meet her, she just gives off the exterior of, like, how she communicates to somebody who she sees as authority, which is like, F you, like, I don't have any time for you. Whereas you see homeless man in the store that she's literally helping, like, and being very polite to in front of him, that, like, she's a very, like, and it just takes a while for you, the audience, and Will Ferrell to see that she's a deeper character, that she came from the establishment. She was going to go to Harvard Law. Like, she didn't become a flower child. She just decided that her efforts should have been spent somewhere else. But whatever. Steven?
How about this? JC, or do you have a point on this? Because if not, I actually have a point that maybe move on. So
Okay, yeah.
Go first.
Basically, yeah. I ended up having a question that was basically, is Anna viewed as like a manic pixie dream girl, which I think is kind of the conversation we've been having, where most of the films that have that, with the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like, it's very much
exactly
like
what I was thinking, Scott Pilgrim.
These women are viewed as just purely these perfect alternatives that don't have issues, that are shown to guide the protagonist into the to help them see the light, essentially. And I feel like Anna is a bit more, because she does have those flaws where she was getting, she was basically going to fail out of Harvard. She was just not cutting it there, and chose to cut and change elsewhere. It is a point where she probably has as much growth as a typical manic pixie dream girl in a movie, but she has more layers to her coming into the movie, I think, and is presented them in the movie in a way that I feel like the Ramona Flowers and I'm completely blanking on the Eternal Sunshine female lead than they have, including situations like where even just whenever she makes cookies for Harold and she gets upset that he wants to purchase them, like typical manic pixie dream girls don't get hurt in movies. They're too cool. They're too unflappable. They don't have moments to be wounded in the movies that they're in. And so just that little moment where she's actually upset and hurt, it makes you feel like, oh, this character is more than just here to purely exist as a foil for the protagonist.
I just have you mentioned Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and you literally has two movies I wouldn't put that in. I'd put it on Garden State or Elizabethtown.
Yeah, Garden State would be on. I haven't seen Elizabethtown.
Frame of reference, like Scott Pilgrim, it's just fucking weird. Like that whole movie is like weird. And then I've never seen Eternal Sunshine, so I have no reference. Steven,
Eternal Sunshine's really
to
good.
your next point, I guess.
Yeah, to my next point. So one of the things that this movie deals in and goes into kind of, and JC, correct me if I'm wrong on this, is a little bit of predestination. If I wish we lost Nick because Nick sucks at internet, but he in maybe going on his theme there's almost a one of the things that when Will Ferrell is talking to, I guess, Dustin Hoffman, is they try to decide what type of movie he's in or what type of book he's in, and then after they decide what type of book he's in, is he determining what is happening, or is everything being determined and he is being, going through that? And what they find out is, hey, it doesn't matter what he does. This is going to happen. So Dustin Hoffman's quote back to him is, go enjoy pancakes. And it's basically, if you want to go eat pancakes for the rest of your life, go eat pancakes. And that's kind of a, go enjoy the finer things of life. Go do what you want to do. And I don't know, that was kind of a different type of route that I remember this movie taking in terms of, hey, you're going to die, get over it. And it is, you know what? This is what predestination is. It is bound to happen. You can't fight it. I'm not sure how I felt about that. Amanda?
I like that you brought that up, actually, because I like that the movie goes into that a little bit. They don't go into it too much, which is a little bit sad, but I also think they did that because in real life, like you don't have, especially if you think the guy's going to die, you don't have a lot of time to really thoroughly test this, because we definitely did see the narrator come on after he would do something and he would make the choices to do these things. But then we also saw what happened when he tried to remove himself from anything happening. And I love that little bit of dichotomy between, like, is it predestined? Is it your choice? Is it a little bit of both? Is it shaped by what you do anyway? I did like that they put that in there.
I just don't flabbergasted that of all the actors, Steven doesn't know it's Dustin Hoffman, who is like a 2-time Oscar winner. Like he's actually probably a bigger name than Will Ferrell.
I've never seen Dustin Hoffman before. I have never watched a movie with Dustin Hoffman in it. I had no idea this was a famous actor, but until you guys told me.
He's also having a panic attack right now of like,
I didn't know who this dude was.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Dustin Hoffman's character is kind of an enigma in the center of this movie, but like, anyway, Nick, while you're here, what's your question?
Hopefully everyone can still hear me.
Yep. Yes.
Yep.
I came in again listening to you talk about predestination, and there's a lot of that in this movie. I also don't like that. I like the thought of being able to make my own choices and my own determinations, but the movie plays a lot with what is fate, what is our role in fate, and do we have a choice? I thought a lot. There's a. I'll try and keep it really brief for Gary's sake mostly, but there's a story that I really like about the man from Diwania, which is a Middle Eastern town, where death goes to an area and scares the bejeebus out of a person, and the person doesn't want to die and face death, so he runs to the nearby town of Diwania. And when people ask him, it's like, Death, why did you come here for that man? And he goes, I was just as surprised as he was. I have a meeting with him tomorrow in Diwania. And it's the whole premise of you making the choice to do this is actually what sets up your predetermined fate of where you're going to go meet something. In this case, your end, which is very prominent in the same story. And I thought a lot about that of like, is Will Ferrell directing the story, or was he always going to come to these points in the story? And it's really interesting. I don't have an answer. It's interesting to watch. So it's very well written.
It's a very interesting little dynamic that they have going on there and trying to figure that out. And that is one of the things I actually really do enjoy the art critic role that whatever his name plays in this movie, and how insightful he seems at times, and how he uses a scientific method to come through all these different things. It is a really fun character. It really is. And then, hey, you know what? You're going to die, but so you're aware, I do have to be lifeguard at the pool in a little bit here, so we got to kind of wrap this up. He's a fun dude,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a very, honestly, it's a very good contrast for this movie. His character and just the levity that he brings in a very dry way compared to the really heavy weight of, hey, is he destined to die? Is there anything he can do to change it? What is his life going to be like? JC.
Yeah, his character, even from the first scene, like he comes across as a dick because it's right after Harold goes to a psychiatrist, and she just keeps going, "That's schizophrenia."
Yeah.
Amazing character actor Linda Hunt as the therapist there. But yeah, he eventually goes to see Dustin Hoffman, Jules Hilbert, and he's just like, "Okay, well, I don't deal with crazy." He's like, "Well, the narrator knows the things about me that aren't crazy. Like I don't like my job." And he's like, "Well, that's not surprising. People don't like their jobs. People don't like doing taxes, etc." He's just very matter of fact in a way that, like, to me, it highlighted whenever I watched it the first time. Like, everything is more dramatic when it involves you, and it's hard to portray that to somebody else sometimes. Where it's like this for Harold, it's this giant existential thing, but now you're trying to relate it to somebody, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. You have the facts of the story right, but the feeling around them is just different because it's not happening to you. And it was just a fun touch to see how dismissive he is at first until we get to the little did he know little truncation. Okay.
The more you guys talk about Dr. Jules, the more I realize I just think he is just as much of a plot device as Anna. Like he ping pongs. He's the wall that Will Ferrell's character hits up against to get to the next plot point every time. Like he's just a ping pong ball against a wall. Like he's interesting. He's a fun character. He's kind of goofy, but like he's a plot device. And I don't know, Nick.
Again, I see Steven shaking his head, and I'm going to say the same thing as a precursor to what he's going to say. I don't think that he's a plot device. Again, I'm trying not to be preachy. In Christian theology, the maker is meant to be aloof and dispassionate to the pleas that you face, because everything that you face is, why existential? This is so rough for me. And he's like, I've got a greater plan. You're not really the center of the universe. Sorry, pal. And not really the plot device. He's more the compass, because he's like, would you look at this? Did you consider this? Why don't you try this? Why don't you go play guitar? Why don't you go live your life, right? What does that mean to you? I don't know. Go figure it out. And it's kind of this driving force for the protagonist to go find the next step. He doesn't tell him what it is. He never once says, go get Anna. It's just this, whatever it means to you, go find your happy place. And so I don't think he's a mere plot device. I kept seeing him as something more. And the aloof, dispassionate kind of played into where I was kind of felt myself pushing him into a box for. Steven.
And I do think, so I will say that, Gary, I do believe that Will Ferrell's character kept hitting up on him, but I do believe he was also a dynamic character in and of himself. I do believe, changes from when you first meet him to the very end scene where you see him taking off his shirt and jumping into a pool, and just kind of a fun little moment. There is a change in who he is, and you see kind of at first it's dismissive. Then he is just interested. And then he's like, you're going to die. It's going to happen. And then he gets involved because now he's like, okay, well, he's going to die. I mean, I'm going to read the story from whatever her name is, the author, and I am
And
saddened.
he's the one who says, "Sorry, you have to die."
Yeah, he does. He does. But
Okay.
he genuinely feels, it looks like he genuinely feels bad about it. And then he's also the one that gets to reread it after it's been changed and says, it's just good. And then they have that exchange about what does it mean to actually finish a story like this when there are so many more critical issues involved. He is a dynamic character that evolves with the plot to my, in how I view it. JC?
Sorry. His moment there with Harold, whenever he's describing how he needs to die too, is another one of those where it comes across fantastically to me. Of you think at first like, what? How could you even have this stance as a human being? You're just saying that like they need to die. But then the way he's able to describe it, and not necessarily that it's for the purpose of great literature, that is almost his stance, but the way that it's describes that you will die, you will absolutely die, heart failure, a disease, something like that. Just this is a poetic and meaningful way to die, and you get to choose that for yourself. And that point is where you can almost just, as the viewer, even take that and go like, what would I do in presented with that situation? I don't know what I could do at that point. But yeah, Steven.
I agree. I just want to agree with you there. That is an incredibly powerful moment of if you had to die tomorrow, but your death would have meaning in some way, shape, or form, would you take it? Or would you? And that's kind of one of the cruxes of the movie is not even saying that he could get out of this predestination thing, but if he could have, does he want to? Being quote unquote, I guess, if we're using this phraseology now, blessed with such a good ending.
I don't really have much to add to that, but just like, isn't that the hope that you die well?
For some people, yes.
I have a different topic, and that's the beginning of the movie, and so how he's introduced. I realize we're kind of in the middle of the movie already, so if I was just gonna say that the way the movie starts, like there's the visual of all of the numbers, and there's a lot of visuals, and I feel like that kind of dies off kind of in the middle of the movie. I feel like there's a total shift of things that I don't know. Going back to JC's, like, was something left on the cutting room floor. I think some of that, like, if it was throughout the whole movie, would have been too obtrusive.
Well, no, there's a specific point where that goes away. It's when he's running across the sidewalk and he's doing his normal routine and then realizes he's going to be actually late for the bus now because he has spent too much time talking with himself. And as he runs, those little things fall away. And although when he goes and meets everyone after that, they say, you just counted the tiles, didn't you? You just counted those steps, didn't you? Yes, but did you see it happen? No, it's gone. It fell away.
I didn't catch that. I just noticed I just thought it was too obtrusive, and so they just cut it back in the middle of the movie.
Well, I thought it was one of those things where, because you see there, one, I love that little visual thing that keeps happening throughout the movie of like showing how Harold has everything sorted in his mind. Two, it's whenever he's in the bathroom the first time, Hilbert's like, hey, you counted the steps outside, right? And then meanwhile, Harold is visualizing how many ounces are in the soap dispensers instead. So it's that Hilbert there. It's that Hilbert is not figuring out exactly which. He's right that he's calculating stuff all the time, but just not exactly which thing.
I really liked the cinematography that was framed a lot in this movie. Every time you see those little numbers floating around his head, he's the center image. There's only like I think one or two times, like when he loads the dishwasher, where it's like things are off to the side, sort of out of his periphery. And when they fell away and weren't as prominent, I kind of felt like his boxed-in world was falling away, like he was breaking through the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of cinematography where like there's several shots looking through the bakery little circular window where you would see Anna, and Harold was positioned outside, and to me, it was kind of this thought of like he has a perfect picture of her, or he's imagining her very similar to like he's imagining how his world would be structured in his head. And so even if it's imagined, I did like the cinematography, and several shots specifically seemed to frame up that like he was thinking this, or his focus was here. We as an audience are meant to look here to see where his next move may be.
Which I want to point out, by the way, the part where he is stacking that dishwasher and he's still wearing his tie. Only a psychopath packs a dishwasher with their tie on. And if he packed the dishwasher with his tie on, I want to point out that means he ate with his tie. Not only did he eat with his tie, he made his food with his tie on. And that is a psychopathic behavior, my friends. I have worn a tie, though that you do not cook food with a goddamn tie on. Sorry, that is the end of my rant there.
Anyways, back to reality here.
Oh my god.
As Nick disappears.
Nick just fell over and died.
Nick and Sense stormed the room and took over the laptop monitor.
He felt very strongly about the ties.
He really did.
Hey, about my monitor.
I wanted to kind of call back to another point kind of in the earlier part of the movie was like after he had started hearing the voices and stuff and was starting to have that breakdown, he goes in to talk to the HR rep, the psychologist.
Yes, I love that guy.
It was just like, this guy is just weird. And then I wrote down here a note of like, as kind of a joke, the federal government telling an employee to take a vacation. That's a bunch of fiction right there.
Well,
Steven?
that's stranger than fiction, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he got my joke.
Well, I did want to kind of, maybe in that same vein, we've been talking about different characters, characterizations throughout this movie, but we actually haven't hit on Will Ferrell yet. And that is right before that scene when he is having a conversation, or actually maybe it's a little bit after that scene. He goes outside and he hears the narrator say, "Little did he know he was going to die." And he goes in and he has the panic attack in his room. And that is, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but that was a very impactful moment for me. Watching him have a breakdown, and then it really kind of hits when he doesn't know how to have this breakdown. He just goes and he stares at himself in the mirror, and that hit me. That hit me real hard. I think Will Ferrell does a fantastic job in this movie, showing to an extent how some of these, if you have like an existential thing happening, how it can feel, how it can manifest. And maybe you don't go actually into your room and you throw around lamps or whatnot, but you also don't have a narrator in your head telling you that you're going to die, but you feel like that. And that's what he's getting out. He's really getting those emotions that you have going in your body in those sorts of existential moment times. And it was, I thought at that point, a fantastic way of describing what he feels like.
I also, he noticed he has some kind of manic energy, but I don't know. Another point I had was that like, that was the point where like the narrator seemed to jump in and out. Like, I think they decided as an artistic choice to not have her narrate everything, like to kind of sort of let the story flow as a normal story and be very infrequent. I don't know.
Well, I think because the story of Harold Crick is not one, as far as Karen Eiffel knows, one where he hears a narrator. And so those moments where he is responding to the narration and doing things because of the narration, those aren't in the story. And so, yeah, to me, there is very much the Death and Taxes storyline that Karen Eiffel is writing and that somehow influences his life and is also influenced by his life. But there's the moments where he is specifically reacting about it, that those seem to be separate and not contained in the story. But yeah, to the panic attack scene, it is a super stark thing. It stands out to me as one of the best scenes in the movie, probably from any actor. And yeah, it just, the moment where it cuts to, speaking to the cinematography as well, we're just watching the panic attack or the room trashing happen, Citizen Kane style, going around and tossing things and throwing the lamp and shaking it. And then it cuts to, you see him going for the mirror, and then it cuts to the mirror view as the viewer, and you're just staring Will Ferrell directly in the face as he has the say something moment. And yeah, it just stands out, and you just feel caught as the viewer, like, I can't help you right now. I'm sorry. This is beyond us right now as the viewer. Steven?
I did also want to just, when we were talking about the breaks in narration that come after this, to me, it almost didn't seem like a creative choice to allow the movie to flow, but it was almost an outreach of, it's Anna, right? The writer?
Karen is the
Anna,
writer. Anna is the baker.
Karen. Okay. Karen has writer's block. So these are the moments where she's not writing. She writes up to this point, and then she doesn't have anything else to write. And that's the writer's block happening. So maybe there's a little symbiosis going on between him having these panic attacks, which can't go into the book, or different sorts of conversations with himself that can't go into the book, and that writer's block. Nick?
I saw the removal of her narrating parts of his life as almost an abandonment at times. It's something that has always been so, even if it's intrusive, it's something that's there. It's frustrating, but it's almost like, okay, who's this head? I have something to balk against. And then when it's not there, it just completely falls apart. He's throwing the lamp, he's staring into the wall. It's like, say something. It's something that is frustratingly annoying to him, but because it's suddenly gone, it's just this, I'm left to the wind. I have no idea what to do and where to go. And it's what really unhinged him in that scene, I felt.
I don't know. I think there's also something to be said about not having control of the voice. Like,
Sure.
Not just like that the voice is narrating his life, but like he doesn't have control over when it starts and stops. Like, I think that was another thing in that panic attack scene, is like, it wasn't that he was mad about the voice or that someone's there. It was that he couldn't he wanted to flip the switch on so he could grasp with what was going on, to have something to wrap his mind around. Is like, why is this happening? And what the story gives him is like, oh, well, you're looking for direction in life, and I'm at lunch right now. Sorry.
Out. Yeah, I do actually tend to kind of agree with that, and that would drive you absolutely nuts. And I do wonder about the kind of the growth that he experiences after this as well. In terms of, he starts with this panic attack is really the moment that everything starts really changing for him. And number one, I would get a CT scan. I do not know why he doesn't get a CT scan. If you're hearing voices, get a CT scan. Anyways,
he's got government insurance. He's got government good insurance.
You know what? Even if you don't have insurance, find a way to get a CT scan. If you're hearing voices, just do it. But he
sounds like schizophrenia.
It sounds like schizophrenia, but he keeps moving on, and he eventually kind of does start growing. And I am a little conflicted about the growth that he experiences, in terms of, he's almost made out to be, and I know this is an overused word nowadays. It is very overused, but he is autistic. He's out there, he's doing numbers, crunching them like that, which, by the way, if you have never gone to like a math club and seen people actually do that in real time, it is fantastic. It is not a fake thing, and it looks awesome. It is one of the coolest things. And anyways, but that's what he is, and he has that social awkwardness, and that's kind of who he is. And to an extent, what this movie does tell me is, hey, if you don't want to be that weird, socially awkward, autistic guy, just stop being him. Don't worry, it'll work out. And that's not necessarily how it works, right? You can't just change yourself by saying, I'm going to get a guitar now, and because I've gotten a guitar now, or want to get a guitar now, that will unlock the rest of my life. And that's a little problematic to me. Nick?
I can get behind that. I had my finger up in response to Gary's comment. I do agree with you, Gary. I think that it's interesting to see the different layers in the conversation. It's like, the phone rings. Well, a phone is an object. It's going to ring on a certain cadence. But like the third phone ring doesn't happen. There's an obvious pause until she types. The phone rings the third time, and then it rings. So it's like, is his real life pending her writing the story? Or is his real life dictating what word she's going to type? is what happens with the characters something predestined? Is it not? There's so many different layers there. I know. I'm more thinking again. And I'm pre. It's the interesting premise of watching a movie that is in many ways a precursor to really engage an audience thing. It's not the first, it won't be the
Nick,
last.
it's not Minority Report. It'll be okay.
But even that, like all these movies, Minority Report, Tenet, Inception, they're more contemporary movies that are helping prime audiences to. I can't just watch this. I have to really like, oh wow, this is interesting. Can you believe how would that? And like we're doing right here, trying to understand the context of some of these scenes. But then you go back and you watch these. This is a movie that came out 20 years before that, right? 15 years before Minority Report, and it's interesting. So yeah, I don't know if it's 15 years, but when did that come out? Late 20s.
Minority Report.
No matter.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's not really important to the conversation.
Yeah. Speaking back to kind of what Steve was mentioning, which after the Minority Report segue, I'm struggling to remember all of a sudden. That was about. Stephen, help me.
Character growth of Will Ferrell and
yes. So why? Yeah, just don't be autistic. I think it is more in depth than that because it's more about the way that Professor Hilbert kind of has the pancake line of. You can just go out and eat pancakes every day. And he goes, why would I just want to eat pancakes? This is my life. I think it depends on the quality of the pancakes and the quality of the life being led. So it's not that necessarily, just stop being neurodivergent, however you want to say it. It's more that if you want to have your life be more musical, like Will Ferrell said in the movie, like that you want to do these things and he has, it's subtle in the movie, but he has this punk rock ethos that he has apparently just imbued throughout his entire life, despite being this very rigid numbers guy. And he's now able to, see this Seafoam Stratocaster and think, yeah, this is me, man. I'm banged up and beat up in old school, and this is how I'm going to express myself. And so I think there's absolutely some merit to like going out and finding those pancakes, for lack of a better word. Okay.
Minority Report came out in 2002. This movie came out in 2006. So Minority Report came first.
And also, I was going to say too, Minority Report isn't the most cerebral movie. Like, I'm pretty sure a movie about like whether it's poetic and meaningful to die on someone else's terms that's a valid time to think things deeply. I think.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
I enjoy that I threw somebody off the rails with Minority Report.
I think every one of these podcasts, you throw somebody off the rails, Gary.
I have a different point. As I say, I had lots of notes earlier in the movie. And the watch becomes a catalyst, and obviously it's a plot device for the author of the book. The watch is a plot device, and I think and maybe it's just the words of Emma Thompson as the author. She's like, makes it sound like the watch has an opinion, or it's like the watch is trying to direct him. And I don't know if that just got cut out or if that was supposed to be something that didn't really like feel fully fleshed out. Like, I just didn't. In the end, it kind of made sense where the watch ended up, but like the fact that the watch kind of had an opinion for a while was just it threw me out for a bit. Steven?
I actually kind of enjoyed that, and I would see that if you were writing a book, I would see that in a book. Like, hey, you have this really bland character with nothing distinguishing about him, with nothing cool about him. How do you get him going in the plot? Give him a watch that cares about him. This watch has been watching the watch has been watching his life this entire time, and he's like, man, you can do better. You know what? I will help you do better. And the watch is kind of a MacGuffin, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word to use. To propel the plot forward. And that is something I think you would see in a lot of books and movies for that matter.
Even the writing to an extent on this movie is very literary, like the opening narration as Harold Crick's running for the bus, and it says like the wristwatch delighted in the crisp wind rushing over its face.
Mhm.
Like that's a very I can see that being on a page, and it's very like it's a real turn of phrase of just like the face of a wristwatch, and it's has that little slow mo of the watch. It's a very personalizing thing to just a fashion accessory, and that they end up just kind of personalizing it more throughout. I think is just a fun literary touch. I thought.
I felt like the wrist, maybe it's just a cinematic choice of what the wristwatch was way too complicated for how simple of a mathematic
Fair.
guy that like it had like blue colors, it had a background like digital like dial, it had a normal watch dial and there was like a background LCD screen, and like it seemed way too complicated for him.
I can't see that because like most wristwatches that are just simple dials don't have like here's the direction that the crane is coming in to wreck your apartment. Arrows. Those are special movie accessories, I believe.
Yeah, and it is a more visual medium, but it seemed weird, and I didn't like that the watch had an opinion, and the watch obviously literarily it's interesting, but it's like in the movie I felt like it was like just you keep talking about this watch is going to be important. I was like, oh, it saves his life in the book, I guess. Like, and then in the middle of the movie, like when the overhead voice goes away, the watch stops being talked about for like 30 minutes. So, Steven?
That's kind of the point of the watch, right? Is when he starts getting his life actually in motion and he starts living his life, the watch doesn't need to propel him forward at that point. And so the watch doesn't have to have the voice. It doesn't have to have the personification of basically his pseudo best friend. Because, I mean, it's not his best friend, but it's probably the closest thing to him. Even when he describes his actual best friend, which is a coworker at work, he's like, "Oh, I guess that would be my best friend, wouldn't it?" Weird. Like he doesn't necessarily have them, and I do enjoy this watch because I enjoy the personification of it in the beginning. It is a fun personification for me of the watch is judging him. The watch is reveling in the wind. That's fun for me, and I enjoy reading that. I enjoy watching that sometimes. It has a little bit more weight in a book sometimes than it does in a movie, but you do have to make it more visual in a movie because you can't be quite as in depth. But then the watch ends up being his savior too. Like he lets it live his life, and then he's like, at the very end, the watch gives his life for him. That's kind of a cool thing. I enjoy that. Amanda, I saw you.
I'm pretty sure that shard of metal in his arm is going to cause problems someday.
Why would a shard of metal embedded in a blood vessel cause any problems down the road?
Right.
That sounds
I just like, because then he's like, so he left it there, and I was like, well, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea. See, I had a very opposite effect of the watch. That watch was so irritating me. I was like, God. Also, I'm like, every time he used it as a morning alarm, I'm like, what if you sleep through that? It's how far we've come that we use smartphones and not alarm clocks.
Dysfunction.
Yeah, and he's counting on this.
It's broken, and you're gonna trust that as your morning alarm.
Yeah, and then when it wasn't working, that moment at the bus stop, it was that cringe moment when it wouldn't stop going off, and I was like, oh no, I'm cringing for you, man. How embarrassing! You can't get the watch to turn off. What do you do? And then you guys are here like, oh, it's so wonderful. It's his best friend. And I'm like, wow, I did not get that at all. Am I a terrible person?
Right.
No, Steven's a terrible person.
I don't necessarily enjoy it because it's like his best friend, but I do enjoy the personification of it. Excuse me. I do enjoy the personification of it, but it's more also that it's...
Nick fell over again, everybody.
Nick's
Every time he does
don't
that, like my heart like falls with him, like, oh, or like to catch it or something. I can't do that.
But I think it's also like it is, as Steve mentioned, it's something that he uses less and less because I think his routine is so structured, his life is so structured based around that minute to minute detail. And so as the minutes and seconds start to matter less about how specific he can be with his coffee breaks and how much he needs to specifically brush every single tooth 38 times up and down, 38 side to side, etc. Like, yeah, the wristwatch is less important. You start to kind of drift apart from that thing and start to have more of a human connection out there with other people.
If this
Fair.
movie had been made today, there had been like an after credit scene where a friend was like purchasing a smartwatch for him to be like, oh yeah, my friend got in an accident and his watch broke. I'm getting him a new one as a present, and then it would just cut off, like leaving the door open for the next movie.
The random like watch setting his life was an interesting premise. However, what caught me was like it listed how long he took for lunch and coffee breaks, and that like was like turning a needle, twisting a knife for me, because I worked at places where they're the time clock based, where if you took less than your 15-minute break, if you took less than 10 minutes, you get written up. And he says like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I was like, oh, he's gonna get written up. Or if and I assumed that the IRS would be sticklers for that, but maybe not. Maybe there's wild cards who take hour-and-a-half long lunches.
Well, maybe it takes him 15 seconds to get down to the coffee machine, so it's like you get a 5-minute break window, and so that gives him 4 minutes and 30 seconds at the machine to. Yeah, you're overthinking this. Got it.
Honestly, watching, I'm just impressed he put all that programming into that kind of watch. Like,
Wow.
considering we've probably all had watches like that, we've come far enough that I'm like, oh man, it sounds exhausting just to even think of programming that much stuff into the watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the smart thing on my watch to like set a timer, and then it'll go, and I was like, your 5 minutes are up, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing the next thing. But
You guys never
Also
programmed your
then-
calculators in high school then? No?
I
Oh,
never bought a
nerd.
fancy calculator in high school. Mine barely did
the
adding,
triangles.
subtracting.
We had to, but I did like the triangle design, and that's it, Steven. What do you want from me?
I spelled boobies upside down.
Look at you. Look at you. You're a man of high honor here.
Later in life, I got an RPN calculator, reverse Polish notation. I don't know if that might be too much for Steven even.
I don't even know what that is. I had a
Fair
TI 82, and you could program a whole bunch of different little things in there, so you could do the quadratic formula if you really wanted to, just by typing in a couple
play
numbers.
games on there too, couldn't you? Like,
Oh, yeah.
if you
Do students
If you
still need those
really
in high
wanted-
school, or is it all on the
I think
computer
so.
now?
I have no idea.
I'm sure it's on the
That's
computer.
interesting. I don't really want to know the answer to that question because that's depressing. But
That was a required item.
But I mean, I assume that's the kind of person that he would be. Is if you can program it in, you can add some efficiency to your life. He seems like he's all about efficiency. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're right. This
True.
sounds mundane for a normal person. He's not a normal person.
That's fair. That's a good point.
And then I guess one of the other aspects that we get. Oh, sorry, Tyler. Do you have something?
I was just going to touch on, we were talking about the watch and stuff, and I was like, I wanted to touch on the random nature show that he's watching while he's trying not to do anything with his day.
Yes.
You sit there and listen to it, it's like, this is a terrifying nature show to be watching.
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
I watched
think
that. I'm like, did he could have set himself up to enjoy the day a little more, maybe? Like, how do you choose what channel you are going to be staring at the entire day? Because then I was like, get the mail. It can't hurt you, right? But no, he stayed there on that couch, and it just hurt.
I think the show's supposed to like continually like go over the death, like that how like death is the Grim Reaper is following him, and
Oh.
like
Yep.
all of that, like because there's a lot of like animals being attacked and murdered and killed, and I honestly thought that was where we were going to get the introduction of the book lady, that he realized who the book lady is, but that was much later. So it was definitely a high tension scene if you were paying attention, that they were all about murder, and then he almost gets murdered by a I don't know what, a excavator going through his window.
Excavator. I like the construction person's random. Whoops. And like that's it. There's no like
Like, I am totally
Sorry.
fired kind of a thing.
Whoops. Yeah, like I guess we're gonna buy you a new TV.
mhm.
And another universe,
Like-
Douglas Adams just rides right through that place and creates a little highway.
And there must be people in every other apartment as well that you almost like, you're getting sued, man. You almost brought the building down on these people. And the people on the first floor, they would have been dead. That's how the book's gonna end.
Well, I did want to kind of talk. I mean, that's a good pivot to the author himself, herself, because that's, I think, the one person that we haven't talked about yet is the author, and how important she is, and how she doesn't realize how important she is. Because I enjoy watching just how they go through how she's doing these weird things to deliberate on how she's going to kill
Harold.
what's his name, Harold. And it's they're a little jarring, I'll be very honest, when she does the jumping thing at first, and especially how she describes that was a little jarring. I wasn't super prepared for that. But she goes really in depth into it, and I get where you have to go if that's your job, is murdering people on page. Nick.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like, she's in the hospital. Is there anybody here who's not going to make it that I can observe? Like, it's just very out there. I would also probably wager some form of neurodivergence there too. It's a form of, this is what I want, and so hyper fixated on this is what I'm going to do to prime myself to get there, without realizing the social cues and awkward cultural norms that you're breaking along the way.
Yeah, to put it another way, I love how broken she is as a person.
She's very broken, right?
Yeah, there's so many weird things that are just against social norms that she does, where she's very set in her ways. Like, that Penny comes in and is like, "Hey, I'm here to help you," and she's like, "You never think about death. What are you going to teach me, you idiot?" Just very, very straightforward. She has her method, and even though it has not worked for going on 10 years, she is insistent that this is the right method. Shotzi?
I mean, I just know that these cigarettes come pre-smoked already too. So.
Pre-smoked. So good.
The big thing for me was when she's
funny.
like, yeah, when Queen Latifah hands her the ashtray and she just puts it out in her water, just drops it in the water bottle. And that's why I'm like, oh man, she doesn't care. I don't think she's necessarily neurodivergent. She is broken. She is just absolutely desensitized, does not care about anyone, anything. She is the prototype aloof, broken author is what she is. Gary.
Muted.
You are muted, Gary.
Okay, now you can hear me. So this author hasn't written a book in 10 years. Is she a millionaire, or is she a poor, struggling author?
Real quick, I'd say that she's probably pretty dang wealthy, because they sent out an assistant, apparently a really good personal assistant, to help her out without her asking. And if everyone knows her books, she's probably made a fair amount in the bank.
And she's a recluse.
So, I mean, I'm pretty certain she's probably doing well off.
Several books. I mean, yeah, she's definitely not like having to get the cheapest places or anything, but
Like, as well as she just killed 8 people across 9 books or something like that, she said, or
ooh, that's a good point.
Well, she's killed someone in every book, so there must be 8 or 7 books.
10 years.
Could be. Is the publishing company paying for her rent?
Well, I mean, but then we get into, and I don't know if we had anything else on that, but I mean, get into her power over and her struggle with herself, when it's not just her struggle with the creative writing aspect, but she gets to a creative struggle when she learns that Harold Crick exists. And
Right.
it's not necessarily even just killing Harold. She has that conversation with Queen Latifah. How many people have I killed? Like, could you imagine that? You think you are just this great writer, you are fantastic at what you do, and no one can tell you different. And then someone comes in and goes, "Hey, every single thing you have done has killed someone." Oh man, that'd be a shock to the soul. JC.
Yeah, like her sadness over recalling her character's death has always been one of those things that, even rewatching the movie, it just always stands out to me, because it's, at some point, I'm empathetic enough that whenever I'm invested in a story, I'm just right there. I'm feeling what those characters are feeling. So even in fiction, whenever a character dies, like, I'm torn up about it. And so for someone to be creating these stories and make it their sort of calling card that yes, these characters are dying, you either to me, I think that there's less of a line than she's giving herself, where there's like, this is purely fiction, so it doesn't matter that I'm killing these people, versus this could be really these could really be people that are dying, and so it is a complete tragedy that these people are dying. There's, to an extent, it's a bit of the Hilbert thing of like, if she's giving these people a more poetic, meaningful death, maybe there's some aspect to that makes it more valuable, that these people are dying. But also that if these people are even purely fictional, that this is Harold Crick is the first time that this has been a real case. Is the fact that those people are dying truly something that elevates the art form? Professor Hilbert seems to think so, but I would argue that maybe that even in fiction, there's value to showing that life is worth living. Gary?
Kind of adding to yours and Steven's point about like, maybe it's just that she's so broken that she just writes about death because like that's what inspires her. But then she's never really thought about death as in a personal way, like meeting someone or knowing someone who's dying or dead. And so when she actually hits that wall of like going to a funeral, like she feels like she's going to the funeral for Harold, that she's just torn up with grief of like realizing that she's, causes death, but she's never really thought about the consequences of the death. Nick.
That's a good transition to what I was going to kind of talk on too, Gary. I always found it interesting that when she's contemplating, like, how am I going to kill Harold, she's watching these scenes play out in her head about jumping off of a building or that driving the car and the child rides the bike out in front of it. It's always her in the scene. Like she is, in a sense, internalizing and personalizing the death because it's something that she is like fantasizing or envisioning in her head, daydreaming about. It's not that Harold's driving off the bridge; it's her. I do think that she's. I mean, you don't see anything play out after the fact. Like she doesn't actually hit the pavement when she jumps. She doesn't actually crash and she goes in the water. The car goes in the water, but you don't see anything afterwards. There's not like a what sense comes after or consequences or the repercussions of it. But it's interesting too to speak to the brokenness of it. That like she's envisioning herself getting these traumatizing events happen to her as well. Even.
I honestly a little bit forgot what I was going to say. I apologize. I was going to second what JC was saying in terms of her coming to grips with the idea that she's killed all these people, but also in the Hilbertian sense, if we're going to use that as a verb or a, but in the Hilbertian sense that did she give these people's lives that really, or deaths that really mattered? And I would first of all say that's not hers to decide. And second of all, say that no, even if the amazing thing about Harold's death was when Hilbert read his thing that his death was going to mean something. This was going to be a defining, era-changing thing. People don't even know this woman exists, so her books are obviously they're good. They're not that good. So the most you could say is that she's made money off of people dying, and obviously that wasn't what her intent was. Don't get me wrong. And there is a niche market for these sorts of things where you're going to read and you know that it's going to be a snuff book. And yeah, people are going to buy them. Why not read them? And if that's what you enjoy writing, go for it, I guess. I think it brings it home to her that she's not just writing snuff books anymore. She is actively engaging in snuff, like films, I guess. She is killing these people. And I don't think she can make the case to herself that anything she is able to say on the page is worth these people's lives. And that's what we get to at the very end of the book, or movie, I should say. And we'll get there. But it is a struggle that she has to go through. And it was, we talked about the idea of, can your death mean something more? That is an easy thing for you to say. I can say that if my life could save a million people, or if my life could save my daughter's life, yeah, I'd give it up in a minute. I don't even question it. It's harder for me to say, hey, is JC's life worth a million people, or am I going to just throw JC onto a car pile because to save my daughter? That is a different conversation, and I think that is the conversation that she's now having. Is my work worth someone else's life? It's not my life to give; it is someone else's life. Gary.
I think you've thought too much about killing JC, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm projecting. I was actually thinking about you, Gary.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I'm in your thoughts and prayers every day. I thought it was interesting, and I actually wrote about them earlier on in the story, which is the additional characters, the kid and the bus driver. I know they're introduced in the car crash, but I think they're also introduced in the jumping off a building, aren't they?
Yep.
And I found that really interesting because if you think of the narrative as her writing a book, she already has backstories written for a small child and a bus driver, but she doesn't know how she's going to use them in the book later on. So she sort of writes a backstory for them. However, as I mentioned, I consider her an unreliable narrator because you go from her talking in Harold's brain to her standing on the edge of a building, and you already know that she is a writer. So in this point, I assume she's suicidal and it's going to go somewhere. And then it's like, oh, yep, that didn't actually matter. Like, and then the car crash, and I was like, oh, like, what is going on? Like, I've seen these characters before. Is something happening? Oh, it's just another 30-second daydream. And so that was frustrating for me. But Steven?
I can get that, and that kind of, I don't know. I understand the shock value of bringing home exactly what she's thinking about to the viewer, because if she's just sitting there on a table with her hands out, and Queen Latifah walks in and we didn't see what she was just visualizing, she says, "I'm visualizing doing this." That's not quite as much a shock value as actually showing what she's thinking about, and that was a scene that really hit me. It was very shocking. I did not expect it, and it wasn't super comfortable with it, but I understand why they put it in there.
I feel like a better narrative choice would have been to allow her to rewind those scenes and retell the story a little differently of like, okay, I'm going to have a car crash. Wait. The boy's not here on the bridge. He's over here. And like, why is he there? Like, and I think they're so flash in the pan things. Like, I feel like there was some more narrative to be pulled from that.
Yeah, maybe. I was going to say, so my original point was going to be more that, and this is definitely thinking too much into it, Gary, so you can get that sign out right now, is that most authors say that they don't necessarily tell their characters what to do or write their characters what to do. Their characters do what they're going to do in their head, and then the person writes down what they are doing. That is how the best books are written, is not when you're forcing the characters to do something. It's when the characters do something and you're just writing down what they're already doing. And so that kind of, for me, leads from what she is visualizing is the characters are already doing what they're doing. She didn't necessarily create these backstories. These people just live in this world. And so it's just it's an organic growth, an organic writing style, which, hey, JC?
Speaking to like the way that her scenes about thinking about death are jarring, definitely at the time, like this movie came out shortly after I was out of high school, so I had my run-ins with depression at that time, and so like darker thoughts of death were not uncommon to me. So to hear her say like everyone thinks about leaping off of buildings, and in my mind I'm like, yeah, and then Queen Latifah's Penny comes in and is like, I certainly don't think about leaping off of buildings. And it was very much while Karen is certainly played as someone who has a lot of very strange habits, it was very much a moment where like trying to reconcile what is normal in with these characters here, because like that was something that was normal to me, was that I just kind of assumed that everyone kind of thought like that. And it was very interesting to have that juxtaposition of here's this character that really does, they're putting these thoughts to words and screen here, and oh wait, no, that's not normal. Everyone does not just consider different ways of dying most of the day. Whoops.
Uh,
I can
my
segue off of that if nobody else wants to.
I had another point, unless you want to segue off of death. At one point, a literature teacher talks about the difference in a tragedy and a comedy, and I thought that was kind of poignant because I kind of sort of knew Will Ferrell as a comedy actor, but like his movie is pretty serious up to this point, like it's going to be a tragedy. So he asks, is it a comedy or a tragedy? And he didn't know. I feel like as the viewer, I still wasn't sure if we're getting a comedy or a tragedy. And so I thought that was an interesting point to put that.
I completely missed that it was he's known for comedies and they're trying to figure out is it a comedy or a tragedy, and he has at one point, I think I'm in a tragedy. That is a really meta thing. I just completely passed me by. I did not even recognize that until you just said that right now.
He did such a great job in this movie too. I love seeing this version of Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Really good actor, and that's what they say about the actors that play the kookiest and craziest sorts of people, right? Is that they have to have a real good sense of themselves.
That was going to be a bit of my point too, is that it's Will Ferrell is coming through and having a more serious role in this one, but also Queen Latifah typically plays a lot more over the top characters usually, and this is her being a very by the books, strict professional in her role here, in a way that she doesn't typically play. Tony Hale is most famous for being a totally over-the-top buster in Arrested Development, and he is just a normal kind of nerdy guy here who's just dreams about space camp and has Star Trek sounds when he turns on the light in his sleeping room. It's, he's just a normal dude.
Star Trek sounds.
Yeah, Sleep Pod 2. He clicks on and goes.
Sleep Pod 2. I caught that.
Yeah.
You're never too old for space camp.
Yeah, he wants to go to space camp. That's his dream, man. There are a couple scenes where like it pans back and you see the rest of his house, and there's like little lit up, lighting effects, and he has very futuristic avant-garde chair, and yeah, I caught it.
Shout out to people like that, because that's freaking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just interesting that there's just a handful of other actors in here that I hadn't previously thought about, like having a calmer, more nuanced delivery in this movie, other than just Will Ferrell.
A random point that I have written down that obviously there's a better point to mention it, was that he owns a bedside urinal. Like the thing that you have to pee in at a hospital. Like when he's sitting on the couch and he can't get up, he can't do anything for a day.
Just a bottle.
Yeah,
I thought it was just a bottle.
Oh, it's just a bottle?
You see it sitting under the coffee table later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I thought it was like a bedside urine. I didn't know he just peed in a bottle.
Yeah.
There's just a phrase for that too. What is it? Something with a deed, isn't it?
That I don't know.
A phrase for a bedside urinal? Bedpan?
Yeah. Bedpan. Something. Not a D, but yeah, something like that. No. I took that in that moment when he pulls it out and he's like laying on the couch, that was, maybe it's a different scene, but I thought that when he pulled it out on the couch, it was his intent not to go anywhere, not to do anything. Mm-hmm. So he just stayed where he was, and he had the bottle there so that I'm not even going to get up to go to the bathroom. I'm just going to go right here. That was his intent with it.
Yep. That's what he does. But I mean, I think the next point here is the culmination and the Will Ferrell meeting the writer and having that entire conversation and leading down to the climax and ending of the movie. Gary?
Oh, Gary's muted.
Gary is muted.
I mute myself because I'm eating, because I'm always eating. But I noted that they met.
Sounds like there's a solution already here.
30 minutes before the end of the movie, and so I thought that was interesting. Like when you put that as obviously like at the beginning of Act 3. So, Tyler.
I was just going to call out the scene there where he is sitting on a bus, a public bus, reading this entire novel there, and I'm like, who on earth does that? I can't imagine the pages and stuff like that would stay close together to him and everything. So, JC?
Yeah, the meeting of the author is a really great scene in terms of the way it's shot and everything. Story-wise, it is one of the weirder things because I'd never know who she thinks he's trying to call, to where she's typing the phone rang again, because she's must be expecting him to call somebody, but this is one of the few times where the narrator and Harold actually interact in a narrated scene, so it's has always thrown me off a bit. But the actual, like, once she answers the phone and it's Harold Crick, and it's a shot not of her but of her hand on the couch just loosening with the realization, and it's shot so well. And then later on as he walks in, and Emma Thompson's astonished voice around Harold is incredible to me every time. Just even like there's a lot of things I quote from this movie, and even one of them is where later on she's trying to get Harold's attention and he hands this manuscript back to her and says, "You should finish the book," and she just goes, "Ha." I love that line. I don't know why. It's just so good. It's fantastic the way that she interacts with Harold every single time.
Just a real quick point, Tyler. There are definitely bus rides where you'd be able to do that on.
You're crazy.
My sister.
Crazy people do that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Well, Harold is already a weird person on the bus, as we know
crazy?
from when he meets Anna on the bus, and he's chosen to sit in the middle position of one of those connected buses, so he's just constantly ebbing and flowing back and forth the whole time. Who chooses to sit there? He says there's 11 open
in the
seats.
Middle, so he can count the seats in the front or the back. Like if he's
There's
OCD
17.
that he needs to know how many
Or is there
open
7?
seats there are, he can't be at one end or the other of the bus. He needs to be in the center. Which
Yeah,
I
it
guess
could be that. Yeah.
also we never ever talked about that he might be OCD, that he's counting, and maybe it's that the literary teacher assumes he has like an OCD where he's counting things or counting stairs, whereas he was like measuring how many ounces were left in the soap dispenser. Like,
because Anna's goes to sit down or stand up, and he goes, "Do you want a seat? There's 11 open ones." So he's keeping track of a lot of that stuff for sure. Yeah, whether it's OCD or some other neurodivergence. Yeah.
Yeah, you're missing the point that the narrator was actually the wingman in that situation, so that was cool. But anyways,
I really do enjoy whenever the narrator corrects him in his behaviors, and it's like, oh, he said the answer to this math problem was this, but actually it was this.
Yeah,
right.
Good little touches.
Trying to add multiple layers to this. Is it like a Rain Man thing? Which hey, it's a Dustin Hoffman movie, right? Like
I don't know the movie Rain Man, so I don't know what that reference.
Steven doesn't know.
The numbers just jump out to him, right? It's like there's 11 seats there. Is that something he's been counting constantly, or when
Steven's probably read 80 million times as many books as me, but doesn't get the reference, and which has a film like appreciation is something I haven't seen Rain Man, but
I love the build up there.
Just lets it dissipate.
This is
There's this moment in the movie in Rain Man where like he just numbers jump out to him, and like he spills something on the floor, and not getting too much into the scene, he looks at it and he's just like he knows how much is spilled. Is it one of those things where maybe he's not counting? It's just for whatever the way his brain works, he just happens to know there's 11 open seats here. So who knows?
Yeah. Kind of moving back to where we were talking, though. I mean, what do you guys think of the actual ending of, like, we're talking about the meeting of Harold and the meeting of the author, whose name I'm going to forget again, and Karen, and we've already talked about the interaction between him and how it, basically the professor dude tells him, "Hey, you have to die. This is a seminal work of stuff." He reads it. He goes, "Yeah, I have to die. This is amazing. I read this all on the book over here." And then she changes it. I mean, that is how it ends. Is that she goes through this entire thing, and you actually see her like pounding on a cigarette at one point in the struggle that she is having. And I assumed at the time that she was having a struggle because, hey, she's killing him. I'm wondering if the struggle was that she's either one, upset she's killed so many people, or two, upset she is destroying a book that she knows is amazing and but one way or another, these are her need to save Harold overcomes any other impetus that she has. Gary.
Did anyone feel as if it was kind of hammed to that she was going to change the ending? Like, I felt like I already knew that was going to happen. It was like, he's going to survive. Like, they're not going to end it. But maybe that's what's interesting, is because as the author of books that only kill people, she assumes that the reasonable answer is to murder everyone. So, Tyler?
Much like we were talking about of like, is this a comedy? Is this not? Or whatever. I kind of had that going back and forth too at the ending there of like, well, they could kill the character here. That wouldn't kind of be out of the norm, but that's also 2025 Tyler talking, and this movie was 2006. So,
agreed.
That's what I was actually about to. My exact point is that, I mean, I don't think that M. Night Shyamalan was a thing at this point, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
he was. How old is he?
yeah. Like, was Sixth Sense is what, 99?
Oh,
Yeah, Sixth Sense 1999.
yeah, whatever. So I mean, just
The Village.
maybe this was just me, but the idea that there were so many twists, like crazy twists at not even crazy, but you shouldn't read into where the movie is going, and the movie is going to tell you or broadcast to you where it's going. And maybe I was just too young at this time. I wasn't out of high school when this dropped, and I didn't see it for a very long time after. So maybe that's just me when I did watch this at first. I just didn't get that, and I wasn't experienced enough with movies to know that's where they'd be going. JC.
And to me, the way that the movie is presented, one, I couldn't tell necessarily if they were going to kill him or not from how I recall originally watching it, and even trying to read it that way now. It's like I don't know if I could necessarily predict that. However, there's the way that it's kind of described as like there's twists in the movie. I don't know. It's almost such a thoughtful movie in a sense. It makes you think and consider things more. That it to me, it doesn't feel like twists so much as just like hemming and hawing. Like, it's not really a twist of the plot to change your mind about something. It's just you've thought about it and reconsidered things and looked at the evidence and made up a new opinion. And I feel like there's so much at play, so many larger themes here that the way that it ends up being where Karen decides not to kill Harold. One, I read the scene where she's smashing the cigarette in frustration as like she wants to kill him in a sense because he's said to do this, but she just can't bring herself to do it. And whether that's because she now sees some sort of beauty in life, to what Gary was saying about maybe she never really considered death as an actual act that was being perpetrated on these people. And maybe now this is finally that thing and she just can't do it even with the quote unquote permission of the person. It's just all these extra layers compounded. I think the film I wouldn't change the ending by any stretch, but it definitely it leads to a saccharine sort of ending where it's a very sweet moment that almost sort of undercuts a lot of what Hilbert was trying to say, that the death adds this meaning and poeticness to the story. And with that saccharine ending, you can see why the death is almost necessary in his idea. Gary?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just jaded 2025 Gary that it's like, I saw it coming. Obviously the idea was that he was willing to like let death come to him in the end, but like I feel like there's a better ending to be written. One, the kid gets ran over. Two, someone else jumps in front of the bus and gets murdered. Like, you write it up as if like moment. He's going to be the hero of the story, and then someone else pushes him out of the way, and someone else gets hit by the bus.
Gary just really wants to run kids over with a bus.
I think the argument.
I didn't say kids.
Sorry to cut in
my
line.
original thought was like somebody else is the one who gets hit by the bus. The kid was just me trying to be funny, but nobody laughed.
But I think the argument is that we're all Harold Crick. Like, that Harold Crick is just a routine dude who just is choosing now finally to have his pancakes later in life, we can all choose to start having pancakes. All our lives are worth living. Like if it's just a random dude who jumps in front of the bus, he also had a story. He also had his own routine day to day that he was stuck in. Like the narration at the end has its description of saying like, hey, we all have these things that can connect us to the other people in our life, whether it's the compassion from a coworker, whether it's this, whether it's that. Like we all have these moments that we can embrace. So to just turn it into a like, oh, another dude jumps in front of the bus and dies randomly, like
The
that would
author's
undercut it
already
completely to
admitted
me.
she's going to rewrite the book. She admitted she's going to change the middle of the book anyway. So
Well,
could have been another person.
yeah, maybe. But what I was going to say, and this gets back to what you were saying originally, JC. I think that Dr. Hilbert and the author at the very end of this book are equally correct in what they're talking about, but they're coming at it from a little bit different perspectives in terms of Hilbert is about a good death matters. The way you go out matters. The way you end your life ends, that matters. And if you can end your life in a way that truly, again, I've got to keep hitting on the same word, matters, what is better than that? And her response seems to be, okay, but what about a life? Isn't a life what matters as well? And the way you get to where you are going, it may not matter if you die saving a child in front of a bus or whether you die at the age of 70 in a bed somewhere from who knows why. Congestive heart failure, who knows? The point is that you had how many years to get there, and that life also matters. And that if you are a good person, and that's what she's saying about Harold Crick, is he's a good person, saving that life for that amount of time, that matters just as much. Even if it might not be as poetic, it matters just as much as the death matters. Amanda?
They are saying both matter, but I also like that line she threw in there, which I don't think that one was a major thing to her. She said it more to appeal to Jules, but she mentioned like my books are about people who didn't know they were going to die. That's part of the thing. In this case, he literally knows he's going to die. That changes, even if the people who are reading the book don't know, that does change it, which I don't think that was a major thing to her, but it was fascinating how all these different viewpoints are all real. It does matter, like how you go out. That is a noble way. That does matter, that his life does matter just as much, but also like all these things at the same time were true.
And I think Jules ends up. There's the big monologue that she has at the end of the movie. Sometimes when we lose ourselves in fear and despair, routine, constancy, and hopelessness and tragedy. The tragedy part, I think, might even be a reference to Jules, that's saying like, even if you think there is this poetic aspect to the death, death matters. To what's even saying like life matters in a sense. Like you can choose that there's this poetic death that makes your life matter more, perhaps in that moment of death, than the life that preceded it. But that's a focus on the tragedy. That's a focus on the story having this conclusion that is finite. And ultimately, we will have a finite story. That's not something that we're going to live forever necessarily. And Jules's philosophy is that the story does live forever. But by continuing a life beyond this chosen death, you get to go ahead and experience more of you can have more of an impact later. You can set your story up to be something that perhaps lasts longer and ends up being a story that then lives even better or further forever.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I plan on being immortal. I don't plan on dying. So there's that.
Steven has said this many times. Someday, if it doesn't end up being true, I might carve it onto his gravestone.
Not fair.
He said he was immortal.
I
thought he would live forever. In fact, he died.
He died in this year.
Disproved.
I kept thinking the Superman Man of Steel comment, a good death is its own reward. You guys were talking recently.
Don't know that movie.
Well,
Uncultured swine.
I don't know. It's a hard thing because I think there is a more poeticism. Personally, and this is just from me. This is not from the character anymore, but from me, there is more poeticism in a good death. There is more. I mean, honestly, you talk about. I joke about immortality, but the way to become immortal is to do something great, right? And someone writes about it. And if someone writes about it, you may be in the library 2,000 years from now. Who is that possible? Very unlikely, but it is possible.
Libraries will be burned down long before then.
Yeah, fair enough. But the living your life that might not necessarily get there if you don't have a quote unquote good death. But in that same sense, is it the unsung hero? I mean, everyone wants to be a hero. Everyone wants to have their name go down in history. And the crux of it is, you remember Hammurabi, and you remember I'm trying to think about the first great code of laws, and the pharaohs that built the pyramids, but you don't remember the names of their architects, and that doesn't make the architects. Yeah, it doesn't make the architects any less important in
Imhotep
history.
was an architect.
Good for you. But so like,
Yay,
okay,
history.
but Hammurabi wasn't. So there you go.
That's
Anyways.
fine. It's just, I was like, I
I
don't
know.
remember which pharaohs built them, but I know at least one architect. So, terrible example.
Yeah, if you say so. But the point being is that these common lay people, the people that don't have histories, that don't have great things written about them, that won't survive history, sometimes matter more than the people who do. And that's it's an interesting dynamic between that.
Yeah, and it was something I thought about whenever I was watching it this time, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to get that deep, but it sounds like we're already kind of in that territory. That there is that feeling that a death is more poetic than a life, but a story only lives forever if people keep living and sustaining life to tell it over and over again through the centuries. So, is that a flaw in how we celebrate death to an extent? The only way we can celebrate death is to have the people who continue to celebrate life, continue to keep things moving forward in a way. Am I chopping up?
You did for just a second. Okay, now.
Yeah, so it was an aspect I didn't even have a fully fleshed out thought, but just something as I was thinking about it, just that we end up having this discussion that like, oh, it was that it could have been a great death, but he chose to just have a normal life. Like, it could be a fantastic life. I mean, he's going out and getting those pancakes. He's playing guitar and has the woman he's really hopeful to have a life with, and he's found a way to manage his work-life balance apparently in a way that supports him. And he's got good friends that are going to space camp for adults. Like, it seems like a pretty good life, and that's something that should be celebrated a little bit more. Even I caught myself in it saying earlier, like, it's a bit sacker of an ending, but it's, it perhaps undercuts it. But maybe that's the part of the story as well, is that we should be celebrating it more.
Building on that, I also think that, like, a life is worth fighting for, and a noble death is something also inspiring and a good thing, and most people don't always get to choose that. But there is a difference between somebody like doing a noble death because that's just what ended up happening versus somebody taking somebody's life and deciding it for them. So I think that's something, I mean, who would have thought in an author's position, you're not some mad person ordering people around the galaxy to do your whim and die for you, but it is something different when you are choosing someone else's death for them.
I thought when JC was mentioning space camp, and I was like, how much does space camp cost? Approximately $2,000. And that's for children. I assume the adult one is probably $3 or $4 grand.
Wait, where's the space camp? Do we need to all be signing up?
It says it's in Alabama. I don't know if anyone from Alabama understands science or space.
Northern Alabama. That is where a large amount of the space program lies, is in Northern Alabama.
I learned something new. I will forget this by tomorrow, but I learned that space astronauts live in Alabama.
I did not know that.
I suppose that's between Texas and Florida. The two, because isn't there's a launchy
That's
place
where
in
Warner
Texas?
Von Braun. That's where Warner Von Braun went, and that's where he did a lot of his, I believe, work after obviously being recruited, shall we say, by the U.S. after World War II.
All right. Well, clearly we all need to sign up for space camp since we don't have the details down.
That's true. Gary, technically, Alabama's between Florida and Mississippi, not Texas.
Boo geography.
Boo geography.
Don't worry, Gary. Texas is a big place. I'm sure it's between there somewhere.
It's Death in Texas. I love Texas.
It says adults cost $700 to $900 more, so it's only $3,000. And you have to get to Alabama.
He's a senior auditor at the IRS. I'm sure he can spare $3,000, especially in the.
And apparently he can spare days off too.
I suspect he hasn't taken a lot of vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the HR guy says, right? You haven't taken it in 4 years or something like that.
But
yeah.
No, I mean, I'd want to hear kind of what everyone thought about the movie. Like I said at the beginning, regardless of all these things, and by the way, I do have a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory number 1. That's not so much a conspiracy theory, unfortunately, but it is that the author uses her newfound powers to create a whole new world for herself now that she knows she can. Every single one of her books, she could just luck the person into money. She doesn't need to kill these people. And Harold Crick won the lottery and won $1.4 billion. Harold Crick now shares that money with the author, and guess what? Everyone wins. Anyways, other than that one conspiracy theory, I really do enjoy the movie, regardless of the depth to it, and it maybe in some part because of the depth of it. I enjoy the movie. I enjoy the acting. I think every single actor and actress in here does a fantastic job, regardless of whether I like how their character was written or what their character does. I think they act fantastically in it. And I enjoyed watching the movie. And that's the eye test, right? It's a fun movie to watch. So that's my thought.
I enjoyed this movie a lot. I have liked this movie before. It's one of those small ones that you don't see as often. And I remembered most of it, but it was still very enjoyable to see. And I do enjoy the deeper conversation because usually when I watch this movie, it's with myself and you don't really talk about it the next day.
And talk to yourself?
Well, yeah, I do talk to myself. Myself is the best at listening. Like, I am the best listener to myself. But
sounds like you need better listeners in your house.
Myself doesn't have a lot of extra viewpoints.
Sir,
you have 3 cats, a husband, and a kid. No one listens.
Nobody listens. They do. They just have their own opinions. That's the problem.
I had never seen this movie before, and knowing only that it starred Will Ferrell, I wasn't like against it. But if I had to pick one camp to be in, I'm not a huge Will Ferrell fan. I think that sometimes he is very manic in his movies, and the humor is comical because the situation's comical. But when he plays certain roles as just like the manic over the top person, it's like you're just a big baby. So if I had to choose one, I'm not a huge fan of Will Ferrell, but I really liked this movie. I would agree the characters and the acting was phenomenal. The situations that they found themselves in and playing the confusion, playing up the nuances, like you said, of like wait, who? Like, is this like? I mean, those are not fleshed out dialogue heavy scenes. Those are realization scenes. And how do you portray realization? Right, that's a very abstract thing. So I think that they did a very good job in those moments, and the writing is phenomenal to set up those situations too. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I am for once going to echo Nick's opinion there, basically, in that I enjoyed the movie. I am not really much of a Will Ferrell fan. I like a lot of his earlier movies, but I think it started with about Step Brothers, where everybody quoted that movie to death, and it kind of ruined it for me when I finally got around to watching the movie there. So I've never kind of sought out Will Ferrell movies kind of going forward beyond that there. So, but for this, I think he did a great turn in this movie, kind of similar to like some of Robin Williams' works in his life, where he known for being a comedic actor, but Robin Williams did some fantastic dramas and serious movies kind of as well there too. So it was a nice turn to see from Will Ferrell for this.
Are you waiting for my opinion? Oh, it's on me. Oh, I honestly thought it was pretty good. JC's last recommendation was a little scary and not like something I wanted to watch. I don't know. I notoriously watch our whatever we're doing late at night, like after like when everyone else goes to bed. It's like I'll just watch this movie or whatever. Like this wasn't too bad for 11 o'clock to 1 a.m. sort of viewing. Like it was fun in the middle, little existential, like, but it didn't dip too deep into the sad and depressing. Like it's a good movie. Like it wasn't too long. I feel like it had a good the story didn't stick any places. It moves smoothly. So yeah, good movie. I'm glad you recommended it. I probably maybe would have gotten to it at some point, like one of those like, oh, it's on Netflix or streaming, like, oh, let's see what this is all about. But it probably wouldn't have been one of the first ones I grabbed. But yeah, it's a good recommendation.
I'll take that as a 5 out of 5. So yeah, thanks for enjoying my pick. Yeah. No, even rewatching it here, there was just so many moments where my notes are just filled with, oh man, this scene, I love this scene. Oh, this character, even like the little HR guy at work. There's so much about his scene that I didn't bother just spilling up the time here with. But yeah, all the little characters in this movie are so great. The writing is really great as well, and almost to Gary's point there of like that it's existential but without getting full sad. Maybe that's part of the reason they don't go full killing him at the end, is like then it becomes a real like, oh, did he have to die sort of thing. So yeah, it stays, it's a very metatextual psychological rom-com basically, and it's a fun little twist of things. So yeah, I always like something with a little twist, as y'all know from my previous anime recommendation.
Can you remind us again, JC, was this a movie that you have seen multiple times or one that you just really remember as being an awesome movie?
Both. It was definitely something that whenever I first saw it, I was like, this is really good. And like typically if I watch something movie style, if I watch it and really enjoy it, I'll watch it multiple times over the next year just as I really enjoy it and want to soak it all in. And so yeah, I've seen the movie probably a dozen times in life at this point. Okay. It had been 5-6+ years since I had last seen it though, so yeah, it had been a good spell. Gary?
The writer and director of this aren't really bangers though, like in their other work.
Yeah,
like, I think the director's maybe an executive producer on World War Z, like, but nothing's really like stands out of like they did this and then they did this other thing that's even better.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me was that the very previous movie that the director Mark Forster did was a movie called Stay with Ewan McGregor and Ryan Gosling and Kate Burton. That movie was like 5th on my list to bring to this this thing of like movies that nobody else has probably seen that I really have enjoyed. So I would have never been able to tell you that was something that he'd also done. He directed Monsters Ball, which is probably one of the larger things. A Man Called Otto is a recent one. Yeah, so like there's a few things there, but otherwise, yeah, it's interesting that as I was looking through that as well, that like
he directed World War Z too. Sorry.
Yeah.
He directed World War Z.
Yeah, but the writer Zach Helm
and Quantum of Solace, everyone's favorite Bond movie, Quantum of Solace.
I don't think anyone has said Quantum of Solace is their favorite Bond movie in this group chat.
He's being sarcastic because he hates all the Craig movies.
Yeah, he hates Daniel Craig, and I like Daniel Craig.
Like, they let him do that piece of dog shit, and they're like, let's give you 3 more movies. Or however many more. It's like
Daniel Craig is a fantastic James Bond. That's why.
Yeah, he's a good actor too.
Anyways, I'll just mute Gary. Keep going there, JC.
There we go.
I was just saying that Zach Helm has basically written like 7 things total. 5 of them have actually come out. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium was the movie after this one, and then Deep Water in 2022 with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. Those are his other top billed things, but Stranger Than Fiction is top among them. So it just kind of came out of nowhere, really. So it's strange, especially a movie that for the 2006 era, I feel like has a fairly strong female cast. We do have the questions about whether Anna is fleshed out enough, but otherwise Karen, Penny are very solid characters in a way that a lot of mid-2000s films don't have for female. Otherwise, yeah. Thanks for really enjoying my movie pick, guys.
Yeah, thanks for recommending it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so does that kind of wrap up our discussion here? Any other questions we want to kind of
favorite
fire out
character,
there?
least favorite character, or have we already rolled over that steamroller?
I don't know. I think I like the way we did it. I like the way we
yeah,
didn't necessarily give a hard 1 or 0 any of those, but if we can, if we want to, we can.
Talk to the characters.
Oh, I do want to give a special shout out to the soundtrack. If you like the band Spoon, you're gonna love the soundtrack to this movie.
It was a very. I thought a couple times.
Spoon.
Like,
What was
the band Spoon is the majority of the soundtrack. The
like,
opening is The Way We Get By. I Turn My Camera On comes on another. Like there's a lot of their stuff is just instrumentalized versions of their actual tracks.
What was the one that he played on the guitar?
That is Reckless Eric, Whole Wide World, a fantastic, I want to say 60s or very early 70s British punk rock song. It's so good.
The whole theme of that scene, like he's sitting there and he's like, no, I can't possibly. And then she goes in the other room, and this is the quiet tension between the two of them. I'm like, he's gonna pick it up, and it's gonna be a song like from her childhood or something that really draws her in. And as soon as she turns off the water in the other room, I could see that like it meant something to her, or like the whole premise of that scene was played out very well.
It's just
And
a
again,
really
no
obscure
words.
song.
I was confused by that scene. Sorry,
Fair.
even.
I just want to know if this is the band actually called a band called Spoon, or is it just Spoon? That is what I want to know.
So, Spoon is the band. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What was confusing to you,
I
Gary?
thought the scene with the guitar was kind of weird.
Oh.
Because he like several times said like, yeah, no, not now. Like, not a very cool date move of like, no. Like, no.
Well,
and then he's just like, what, like something willed him to pick up the guitar anyway. I thought it was, I didn't know if it was trying to do something deeper.
I thought it was a character growth moment because he previously turned down the cookies that he realized she had baked for him, and his own inability to understand the situation and recognize it and say, yes, I'll be receptive to your gift, again, quote unquote, a movie term. This time when she's like, no, play, like, I'd love to hear you sing. She's offering him something and he's not receptive to it. So then finally he's like, oh, maybe I should play. And he grabs it and he starts just playing the one song that he can after she prompts him to do so. I thought it was character growth.
I mean,
although he has his eyes closed the entire time, like he's in his own world.
That is accurate too. I have just started to learn the guitar, and I'm panicked about doing this in a public setting. I have
like
1,000% played guitar with my eyes closed.
Even in just front of one person, I just thought he had to steel himself up for it a little bit. It's nervous even in front of somebody that you know, and they have this is their first night. Like I can kind of be like, hell no, I'm not going there, and then being like, okay, hold on, I can do this. Can you close your eyes?
Yeah. It was special.
Yeah. She didn't need Johnny Be Good. She just wanted to hear a little bit of music from him.
Exactly.
Yeah, but how awesome would it have been if he just belted out Johnny Be Good just sitting there?
I don't know one song.
The full Michael J. Fox version. Just
God, right.
I can tell my guitar knowledge by the few songs I can name.
Now that's all I can imagine now. It's just like the Michael J. Fox version where he turns on the amp and he's like adjusting it and like tunes the guitar and then it's like just totally shredding out. Anyway.
Anything else?
But yeah, if we're good to call it there, we can call it.
Okay. Just checking.
Huh?
So for next time, dear listener, we will be watching 1982's classic, The Beastmaster, as suggested by me, in a movie I am so glad to finally get Nick to finally watch after all these years of me suggesting it to him. I have cornered him into watching this movie. I will note for the audience's benefit and your guys' benefit, I will try to watch the movie sometime relatively soon, because I know there was a part at the beginning where it is female nudity for a PG rated movie. So I just want to try and notate. This is before Temple of Doom gave us the PG-13 rating, Steven.
I'm shocked that a PG movie had nudity in it. So I'm.
Yep. Also, I'll try and
Once again, Steven doesn't know anything about cinema history, but
I'll try and like figure out
Ooh, history.
when that is.
Ooh,
And stuff
history.
like that.
Regular history.
regular history. The book
Interesting.
history. Boo book history.
Yeah.
Is it like gratuitous or something, Chatsy?
No,
or-
it's just like they're bathing in a lake and, you know, high fantasy and stuff like that. They don't have clothes on underneath. It's just their weird robes they wear.
Oh, like a.
So you see the male
sheet.
nudity too, then, right?
There is no male nudity.
Oh,
That'd be the only fair thing, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger just,
If only Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger was in this movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up in Beastmaster just for this one
Dang
scene.
it.
Just full reveal.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was in Conan.
Oh.
This is Beastmaster. Different
This
series.
is the scene where I come out of the lake.
Again, it was announced. I haven't seen this movie. I don't know who's in it. No more than Steven knows that Dustin Hoffman was in this movie.
Fair. That's entirely fair.
I mean, I'm more excited about hearing people's opinions on this because I don't remember very well, but I don't remember it being a banger. So I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you.
Ow. Setting that ground.
Do not set your expectation very high, Steven. This is a movie of the 80s in that sword and sorcery, high fantasy kind of realm.
It was the 80s.
Where they filmed it.
Was the-
They did sci-fi, like high fantasy like this because it was cheap to film.
Look, I am all about the movies like The Gamers, The Darkness Rising, where you hide behind that hot pile of dead bards. So I'll be fine with that. As long as I know.
Yes, keep your expectations low when you start watching this. All right. Anyways, I suppose that'll do it then for everybody here. We want to thank our dear listener for listening in, and we will see you next time. We, like I said, discuss the Beastmaster. Take care, everyone.
Yay!
Bye,
everybody.
Bye bye.